Christian Novels Audiobooks, The Story of Wayne and Jean Vozzolo, The Cross Penny, Episode number 80. Later, the two lawyers drove two of the amigos to the bus station parking lot. The other amigo stayed with Sean in the bunkhouse. "Hey, look, it's Gwen," one of the lawyers pointed. "She's here every night just like we are," said one of the amigos as he hopped out of the Vozzolo truck to look around. The two lawyers got out and walked over to talk to her. "What are you two doing here?" Gwen asked. "And by the way, thank you so much for doing all the paperwork and filing for the foundation." "Just visiting Wayne and Jean, and you're very welcome." "Oh, would you please give something to Mark Tompkins for me? I was going to ask the amigos to give it to him. There they are. Thank God there are no throwaway kids here tonight." "Amen to that." She handed one of the lawyers a sealed letter and started the yellow Sunny Hills Nursing Home station wagon. "Thanks. See ya." "See ya." By Tuesday daylight, the cattlemen and Mark were busy on the fence line. Eduardo and Chester started at 8 o'clock, gathering a picking crew, shipping crew, and Jean's kitchen crew from across the border. All four of the amigos were in school. The two lawyers with their yellow legal pads were talking to Wayne and Jean at the Vozzolo kitchen table. There was a knock on the kitchen door. "Hey, anybody home?" "Hey, Officer J, come on in. Want a cup of coffee?" Wayne asked, getting up and grabbing another coffee mug. "That would be great. Thank you. Black, please." "Let me introduce you to a couple of our kiddos. This is Attorney Jonathan Bridgewater, and this is Attorney Matthew Luca." Jean said, "Jonathan, Matthew, good to meet you. I'm Jay Jason, the officer that worked here Saturday night and did a lot of reports before I could get off my shift." Each shook hands with the other. "Thank you," Jay said as he took the mug of coffee. "Wayne, Jean, I take that these are not only some of your kids, but also your attorneys." "That's right." "I'm glad they're here to hear, so they can also hear what I have to say." "Well, here's a couple of interlocking cases for you two lawyers. Wayne, you told me that the company car those people used drove out to drive out and destroy your field Saturday night has a logo decal on it, right?" "Yes, as does all of their equipment," Wayne insisted. "I wouldn't be surprised if they had it somewhere on their rolls of toilet paper." "Well, guess what? That decal logo is also on all three of these sprayers." "That's right, the same decal. And in one of the other impounded cars, the techs found another sprayer with the same decal logo on it. Everything is documented and lots of photos were taken. In order to protect the chain of custody, I turned all four sprayers into our lab for testing. I got the report back today. All four contain the same hard-name chemical. Here's a copy of the lab report." Jay waited for all of them to look at the reports. Wayne replied first. "That chemical was banned a number of years ago. It doesn't just kill plants, but it also causes life-threatening allergic reactions for anyone who handles the produce or eats it, and it is very hard to wash off. It could be on there 2 weeks later, even after a really good washing. A few died from anaphylactic shock." "Boy, I'm so thankful and glad Eduardo and Chester roped off that area. Those plants and the soil underneath them have to be destroyed with special protective gear or somebody could get really sick." "Well," Jay continued, "somebody did." "What? How?" "None of that was picked and nobody's been in that plot," Wayne exclaimed. "There was a young kid I caught after you two went to bed. He was on a rickety old bicycle and had a small bag of old clothes and a small sketchbook and pencil. But he had no drugs and no weapons," Jay continued. "That explains the bicycle and bag Mark told us about. Yes, we have them out by one of our tractors in the barn," Jean said. "When I caught him, he was standing in the tomato field eating a tomato. He said he was hungry and mentioned he had aged out of foster care that day. He lived 6 hours away, and his foster parents told him they had a surprise for him. They drove him a ways and then stopped at the first rest area up on the road from here. He told them he needed to go to the bathroom. While he was in there, they took his bike and bag out and left a scribbled note telling him that he could eat Vozzolo produce anytime. They took off when he was in the bathroom. Then we saw the Vozzolo produce sign. He decided he would check it out because they had not fed him since they started the trip. When I asked about why he chose the tomato, he told me he knew what tomatoes were, but he didn't know what the funny-looking vegetables were and that he was afraid he wouldn't like them. By the way, this is all in my report, which I just happen to have a copy with me out in the car." Jonathan and Matt smiled at each other. "I thought you guys would like to know that." Jay smiled at Jonathan and Matt. "I made him spit that tomato into an evidence bag, mostly just to scare him, but it was too late to give him to you, so I had no choice but to hold him. Honestly, I was going to put him in solitaire in a holding cell for his own safety, feed him real good, and then call you Sunday afternoon to see what you wanted to do." "We never got the call." Wayne shook his head. "I know, I never made it. We hadn't gotten 10 minutes from here when he started gasping for breath and making some really funny sounds. I pulled over to take a look at him. His hands were swollen, double, and so was his mouth. I called for an air ambulance, and they took him to the hospital. They told me that a few minutes later, if left untreated, he would have died from anaphylactic shock. I sent his tomato to my lab as well. Here's that report. It's the same stuff from all the sprayers, including the one not used Saturday night. Wayne, if that had gotten into your supply chain, you would have had multiple lawsuits and a ruined reputation." Matt banged his fist on the table. "Is the young man okay?" Wayne and Jean asked at the same time. "Yes." "Where is he now?" Wayne demanded to know. "Out of my car," Jay laughed. "I was pretty certain you might have a room in that bunkhouse of yours. That is, unless you want to press charges for that single tomato. But I think he's paid handsomely for that one tomato. If you press charges, I'll have to take him back to jail. He has no other place to go." "Go get him. Has he had breakfast?" Jean immediately responded. "Yes, Jean, he had breakfast at the hospital, but I don't think you'll be able to convince him to eat tomatoes anytime soon." "Wayne and Jean, we have some legal things to discuss. Is it okay if we look in Tony's old room for some of his papers? And can we have the key to his shed?" Matt asked. "Sure. You know where we keep the keys. It's labeled." "We'll meet up with you later." "Thank you, officer," Jonathan said.